All right, here we are in the sand blasting room slash media blasting room, and this is where we do all this kind of dirty paint removal. And this is actually the machine that we use. It is basically like a sand blaster, but the benefit of this machine is it actually has a reclaiming ability to it. So basically, what you have is you have a big pressure pot right here that the media is sitting in. There's also some media in this area here, and basically, you just attach an air pressure to it. In the case of this machine, it uses so much air, you can't actually use regular shop air that we have that's in the building. We actually have to have an outside source from an Ingersoll Rand compressor over here. This actually, you see these at construction sites and stuff they use for different things. And this has enough volume to keep up with the machine. So we're going to hook that up to it. And once you turn the air pressure on, it's going to pressurize this pot. And in the case of plastic media and blasting aluminum structure, recommendation is between 10 and 40 psi. So we have this thing turned down to about 20 psi because if you go much more than that, it makes the paint come off quicker, but it has a tendency to maybe warp the material because it builds up heat and stuff. So we're going to shoot at a very low pressure, 20 psi. Turn that on, it pressurizes that pot. It comes through the hose, the media, and it comes off to this large hose here. It has a little trigger on it and the nozzle. And basically the media starts coming out and you're going to point it at the whatever we're stripping. And you're not going to point at 90 degrees. You're kind of going to go at like a 45 to 60 degree angle. Again, you want to do that so you don't build up heat on the surface. And you're just going to start removing the paint. Now the downfall, one of the downfalls of this whole thing is the weight of this hose. This is so cumbersome, it's so heavy. And actually the best way to actually use this for me is actually throw this over my shoulder. And I'm actually using my shoulder to support it while I move it back and forth. If you do it any other way, it gets very, very tiring. So that's how we're going to operate this thing. And the other thing you have to do while you're blasting it, of course, is to protect yourself. There is media blasting out. It's bouncing off of stuff. So when you see me doing this, I'm going to have a full, it's like a protective hood. This hood has a clear thing so you can see through it. It comes down, it covers your shoulder so you don't get any kind of media down inside your clothes. And it also has a fresh air supply that you plug into an air compressor that's outside the building. That brings fresh air and also actually cools the air, so it makes it comfortable inside. And also I'll wear a respirator or dust mask to keep any dust from getting into my system. Some people wear a full suit to do this. If you're doing sand, that's probably a good idea because sand is very painful if it comes back. But in this case, we're going really low, 20 psi. We're shooting plastic. I'm not going to wear a whole suit because it gets kind of cumbersome. It also gets hot too, especially here in Florida. Trying to do this when it's 85, 90 degrees can be very uncomfortable. So what we're going to do is we're going to suit up. We're going to turn the compressor on, and we're going to show you how to strip paint with a plastic media machine. All right, so before we get all geared up here, we're going to kind of talk about what we're removing the paint off of. This is the right wing to the 108. And what we found out on the left wing is that the top of the wing has an excessive amount of material. And we talked about this in all the other episodes. You're probably sick of me hearing about how much paint is on this airplane, but I am just totally amazed about how much material is on this airplane. And what we found, again, on the left wing, is that it almost looks like a spray-on filler. They're actually trying to smooth this entire wing out. Now, I don't know if that was done at the factory or if it was done later on in the airplane's career, but I'll tell you what, it took me nearly 2.5 days just to remove the paint off the top of the wing on the left side. It's slow going because, again, you're going low pressure, but that's the only way to really remove this. Now, you'll see on the top of the wing, you'll see some of the old Chilean markings, the registration CC, PWA. These letters and everything actually were yellow at one time. And when I'm starting to blast this, I'm actually going to go over these letters, and you actually have the ability to remove one layer of paint at a time with this machine. I'm actually going to go over and actually remove the blue so you can actually see the yellow and kind of see how the layers come off. So it's kind of cool. You have some controllability as how much material is actually able to be removed. So again, we're gonna suit up and we're gonna strip some paint. All right, so there you go. That gives you an idea of how this whole operation works. One of the big things we're up against on this airplane is, again, the amount of material that's on it. And if you watch, when you're watching the video, you'll see that this layer of the 2 layers of the tan color and even that yellow, that comes off relatively quickly. And that's normally how, when we're stripping these airplanes with the plastic media, how it comes off. It's actually pretty fast. But on this airplane, especially the top of the wing, we get down to this dark layer right here, which is, I tell you, it looks like a spray-on filler. It's almost like a tar. And we thought maybe there's a better way to get this off, and we tried to chemical strip and sand it, but it just doesn't come off. And this is the best way to do it. It just takes a long time because I got to sit there and move back and forth to remove all this. But you can just see the amount of material that's on here. As you're watching the video, you can see the different layers of paint. You can see the yellow, the tan, the light blue, the dark blue. You can see all that on. There's like 80 years of history that we're just kind of blowing off of here. But it all has to come off so we can actually get down to the root of what's underneath all this paint. Now again, the downside of this system is you have to reclaim it. Now this isn't sand. When you're sandblasting, normally you just sandblast and you just sweep it up and you get rid of it and you're done with it. But with the plastic media is pretty pricey. It comes in a little 30-gallon tub. It's about this tall. And that is $360, okay? So we want to try to use this media over and over again because it does have a lifespan. Eventually it does break down and turn into dust, but it can go for quite a while. So that's the beauty of this system. Now the downfall, again, is we've blasted all this stuff, and what I try to do is I try to blast in one direction into a corner, and I'm trying to kind of route all this media into this one area. And what I have to do is I have to sweep it up into a pile, and what the machine came with actually was like a little funnel system that you would actually shovel it into. But we actually came up with a quicker way to do it because we'd have this big pile. We thought, you know what, why don't we just attach some kind of dustpan to it? So Dave Martin, our welder here, he made up this little little adapter, and we just stick this onto the hose here. You turn this reclaimer on. Basically all it is a giant vacuum cleaner. I'm talking like serious vacuuming. And we just sweep it up into the pile, and we just take this scoop and stick it into the pile and push it in a matter of 15-20 minutes. We're able to clean everything back up. It goes back into the machine. The machine actually has a filter system in it that takes the dust out of it, so it separates it. Any kind of trash you pick up off the floor, it has a little screen inside that collects all that, so you're not blowing that back out and clogging up the hose and everything. So again, that kind of makes it kind of slow because you can blast for about, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes. Then you have to stop and reclaim the media. Now, in a case of a commercial operation where they're using sandblasting and plastic media on a big basis, what they do is they actually build a room, and it'd be cool to have this. They build a room that has a mesh floor in it, or like a grilled floor. And as you're blasting, that media is just falling down into the floor. It goes into a funnel system, then that is sucked up by the machine, and it just goes back in it. So you can just blast all day long without having to stop. Of course, we don't have that luxury to do that because that's a very expensive thing to build, and we don't do enough of this that would pay for itself. But for what we're doing here, this room works great. It's a great piece of machine. We've had it for a really long time. It works just fantastic, and it's just tiring. You do this over a course. In one day, I can do like 3 or 4 periods of blasting, but it's very tiring between the hose and the helmet and the suit and everything. It gets kind of cumbersome, and sweeping it up, and it's a long day. But that gives you an idea of what we're up against. We started the right wing here. We've actually finished the left wing, and let's go take a look at that and see what the finished product looks like. All right, here we are back into the main shop. We have the finished left wing with all of its paint removed, top and bottom. And what you're looking at here is this is a full 5 days of blasting and reclaiming and blasting and reclaiming. Flipping it over, top and bottom is all cleaned up. And you can see though, it does a really, really nice job. It just almost looks like a new structure. Good and bad news. The good news being that, of course, we've taken all the paint off. Now we can see that the wing is in really good shape. There aren't any serious issues with the wing. But after blasting and removing a lot of this heavy filler that they had on it, we have found 2 or 3 skins that have to be replaced. One of them is over here in the center, and this is actually where the landing light was attached, and it's this skin right over here. And after we removed the paint, we found that it has a an awful repair that was done to it. And also, once this damage happened here, it must have buckled the skin a little bit, and they actually put a reinforcement in another area to try to straighten out the skin. So that's kind of done. That skin has to come off. There's one out on the tip. And on the top side, I was kind of surprised as I was blasting, I removed another area that had Bondo. And that Bondo, once it was removed with the media, removed a large dent and a crack in the skin. So that skin has to come off and be replaced. Now, the good thing about all this is that it's a very simple structure. The skins are easy to make. Little bit of a work ahead of that is we have to actually fixture the wing to be able to do that. We want to keep the wing straight and true. So Dave Martin, he's in the process of building a fixture, much like the P35A that Rick is working on. The wings are in a bolted on fixture. This is done to keep the wing straight and true. So that is being built right now. Once that's finished up, we're going to take this wing, place it into the fixture, and we're going to actually start removing some of these skins so we can replace them. Also, removing the skin gives us the ability to get further inside the wing, do some more paint removal, because a lot of the original paint is flaking and still coming off areas you can't access with the plastic media. We'll be able to get in there and clean all that out, and also check for corrosion and other damage. But so far, so good. This wing looks all right, except again for a few skins that have to come off. But again, it gives you an idea of the process of removing paint. What's one of the big projects of any restoration is paint removal. It takes a lot of time, whether you're chemical stripping, sandblasting, glass media, plastic media. All this takes a lot of time, and it's a large portion of a restoration, and you have to be patient and get through all this, because you don't really know what you have until you get all the paint off to see what kind of damage is on the structure. So next episode, we'll probably have this wing and a structure, maybe get into drilling off some skins, and we'll show you how all that goes. But stay tuned and keep checking back on the progress of the 108 restoration.